So I'll try that again. Welcome to episode 30 of JagaVision. Working through the technical challenges that seem to present themselves weekly. But we're here. It's 1:24 and we're starting late. But we have a pretty awesome show today. So really happy to have join us is going to be Brock McFarlane with CPS Mastering and Sherri from Sister Speak, who joins us weekly. Brock is he's actually the fellow who's responsible for mastering my album that I did with my music project Truth and Dolphin. So we're going to be drinking some Yunwu Chuntazong today. And for those of you who don't know who are watching this, I'm Jared Nyberg and I own Jaga Silk with my wife Miu. And JagaVision is an opportunity to drink tea and just talk about stuff. So Brock McFarlane, Sherri, are you there?
Hi.
There you go. Okay, awesome. Yeah, well, welcome, Brock. Sherri, are you on the line? We can't hear you. You want to unmute yourself?
Hello.
Oh, there
Hello.
you go. Awesome. Cool. Are you able to turn your camera sideways, Sister Speak? Or is it not?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. Super helpful. Okay. Oh, it's not auto-rotating for some reason. You are actually...
Yeah, I know. That's why I turned it back.
Okay, never mind then. All right, yeah, if you want to just keep it how it was then. All right, Sherri, Brock, I guess this is your first time meeting each other as well, and this is, for me, the first time meeting Brock face-to-face, even though we've talked a bunch on the phone and exchanged well over 100 versions of my of my album, so huge appreciation for that. We only have Brock for a short period of time, but Brock, maybe you want to tell the audience a little bit about what CPS Mastering is all about?
Yeah, so I run an audio mastering company, primarily music mastering. I don't do very much else anymore. But mastering is kind of this weird, often, I mean, with many things in this world, misunderstood, kind of part of the audio production process.
Mm-hmm.
I think of it mostly as kind of this translation process. Is we're the stage in between an artist finalizing their artistic vision, the production team, the engineer, producer, and the artist, writer, whoever, finishing the kind of creative process of making a record and figuring out how to translate that vision that they've got into a saleable product. We're essentially like transferring it from the kind of artistic stage into the production, manufacturing, distribution stage.
Right.
And depending on how the music's going to get released, that takes a little bit of a different form. But that's kind of primarily at the kind of core of it. That's the job. I get to listen to music all day.
Nice.
So
yeah.
pretty good.
Good times. And there were some really interesting albums. Actually, I found some of the best music that I've listened to recently. I was actually going on your webpage and seeing a number of the albums that you'd mastered. And
that's awesome.
Yeah,
I'm so glad.
It was really, really good times.
Yeah, it's I'm super honored to be able to get to be that part in the process for people. Is kind of this birthing stage of a record it's really kind of entering the world.
It's
in a
very
way.
exciting, very exciting. I have to tell you, when it was done, wow. But before we get too far into it, Sherri, you want to introduce yourself a little bit to the viewers and to Brock and tell us a little bit about what you do?
Yeah, I'm a musician. I'm a huge fan of how you mastered the Dolphin album. I'm a huge fan of your mastering in general. I just discovered you, so amazing. And yeah, I actually would love to see about if you're down to work on the next album for my band. It's
Always down.
That's awesome. We'll see if you like it first, I guess. The band's half in California, half here. I'm here now, so I've been living between California and BC for like 10 years. So the rest of the band's mostly hunkered down in Los Angeles, and I'm here. I'm really grateful for the Music Fridays. Been doing a live stream. The band's called Sister Speak. Anything from solo to sometimes 7-piece, depending on the show. Yeah, and I love tea. I'm drinking some oolong right now before we get to the green tea.
Did you find the green tea in the end?
You know, I gotta be honest. I think okay, so where I'm staying right now, one of my best friends, I think she's in a confidential meeting. It's like the only time this whole summer she's like in a confidential meeting. I think she might have thought it was her matcha subscription.
I see. Okay, yeah, because it said Jaga
So
Silk on it, and she does get a matcha subscription from us. So you don't actually have the tea with you today. That's okay.
I don't have it in my I think I'll find out. I don't know how long we're on the show, but like
Yeah.
it could maybe somebody stole the package in
Right,
Sydney.
right.
One of the
Yeah, it's possible.
one of
You
the
know, maybe
cities.
the post office is drinking it. But Brock, you got your package okay.
I do. Tea exists.
Okay, amazing. Awesome. Okay, cool.
Oh,
So for
that
those
looks so good.
for those of you who are watching, we're going to be drinking the Yunwu Zhong. This is a really beautiful parched green tea. I don't know if you want to open it up, Brock, and smell it, but
I definitely do.
yeah, it's
I'm gonna,
you're gonna go. Are you gonna search?
yeah,
Okay. Okay. That's funny. So yeah, if you want to open it up, and we can be drinking tea and talking a little bit about your work.
I love it.
Awesome.
Oh,
Yeah.
it smells delicious.
Isn't that nice? Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like parched Maillard reaction there, where you get that sugar, that cooked sugar smell, and you get this really good. So like to make a green tea, you basically take Camellia sinensis leaves, and you want to freeze the enzymatic oxidation process from happening. Enzymatic oxidation is what causes the leaves to brown and become oolongs, or become crimson teas, black teas, etc. True black teas don't necessarily require that enzymatic oxidation to happen. They're more of a fermented tea. And what we call black teas in North America is called crimson tea at origin, and that's fully withered, like full oxidation. So there's this whole spectrum of possibility when you're working with what's called the PPO enzyme. And green teas are basically as close to the vegetal state as possible. So then when you have green teas, you want to go into like either steamed green teas like they have in Japan, where it's kind of got the spinach-like mouthfeel, it's really lovely, or you do what we have here, which is a parched green tea. So this is from a lovely farmer we've worked with before, Chen Lin. Actually, I made this tea for my sister recently, Sherri, and for those watching who don't know, Sherri's my sister. The tea was horrible because I burned it. So the goal today is to make this properly, even though we don't have like you're not working with a temperature variable kettle. But what I assume you're not.
I'm not. I want one really bad.
Okay. So there's a really easy way to do it. Is if you know the temperature that's your goal, and you know that your water has fresh boiled, like literally just boiled. Boiling water is 100 degrees centigrade. Every time I put it into a room temperature vessel, it cools 10 degrees with almost mathematical precision. So say if I have 2 jars, right? Say I'm gonna brew in this jar, okay? So what I'm gonna do is before I put the leaves in there, I'm going to put the boiling water into the jar. That's going to cool it to 90 degrees. Then I'm going to pour that water into my decanter or my drinking cup, and that's going to cool it another 10 degrees. Then when I'm done that process, I put the tea into that first jar, and I pour this cooled water on top. Does that make sense?
Perfect.
And then you don't need a temperature variable kettle. You just need to math.
I love it.
Okay.
Perfect. I have already made the jump from boiling water kettle into one vessel.
Okay.
So I should go into second vessel.
Yes. And then that first vessel you put it into, that's going to be ideally your brewing vessel.
Love it. Okay.
Okay. And then
I'll be off camera for a second.
Okay. When you do put your tea in, do you have a scale?
I do.
Amazing. 3 grams.
Perfect. I can do that.
Okay. Sherri, did you find it?
I'm just keep peeking to see if it might appear. I've just been searching relentlessly.
Aha. It might have found its way into the mailbox, or I wonder if there's a community mailbox.
Oh, maybe it's in the mailbox.
Yeah, I can imagine them just leaving it there, and this would have been.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
I just feel like I think that the most likely thing is that it got dropped off like at the mailbox.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's very, very likely. Okay, Brock, we have you? Not quite. Okay. All right.
I don't think that
You don't think it's
case of the missing tea. Where will it be?
Where will it be, indeed? The mystery of the tea. So, for those who are watching, when you're weighing your leaves using a scale, it's good to note that you can also weigh your water. I've gone over this a number of times in previous episodes, but 1 milliliter is 1 gram. So if your goal is 180 mils over 3 grams of tea, you're literally looking for 180 grams. And that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to pour 180 grams on this tea. Okay. Brock, welcome back.
I'm here again. Okay.
Yeah. So what we're going to do is, now that I put in my 3 grams of tea, ideally, what I should have asked you to do is grab your scale, because now you can just put the water on top of your tea and you can weigh out 180 grams, which is the same as 180 mils.
Perfect. I can do that.
And you set a timer for 2 minutes. And if you want me to set a timer on my end, I can do that for you, no problem.
Perfect. Yeah, I'll shoot with you.
Okay, all right. So are you pouring on right now? 180 grams?
I'm going right now, yeah.
Okay, so you started 15 seconds after me. That works. Okay, and then what we're going to do is, once it's finished brewing, you need to pour through a sieve into your drinking cup or your decanter or whatever. Do you have a sieve?
Yes, I do.
Okay, you're on.
I came vaguely prepared.
You are on. Amazing. Okay, cool. So yeah, then when we've completed this process, we've finished our first steep. And so you can actually do, with good quality tea leaves, depending on how they're prepared during production, you can often get multiple infusions out of the same leaves. So you can actually just keep going with this. But I would say for every kind of second, third infusion, reduce the amount of water you're using by about 5 or 10%, so that you don't, so that you can make room for the liquid that's been absorbed into the leaves, and you don't get this super diluted finished product.
Cool.
Okay, so you're gonna be ready in about 45 seconds. So yeah, just for the album, I wanted to talk about that just for a moment. So you seriously had such a good attitude. Like, I don't know how to any other way to say it. Like, I was honestly expecting you, when I got to this point where I was like, okay, I was literally counting our exchanges, and it was past 100. I was like, how is Brock not upset with me? You know, like, what is the most back and forth you've had on a set of masters in your career?
Oh, I don't know.
Was that up there? Was that fairly normal?
It's probably up there.
Okay, yeah. I was just, because Sherri Ann was saying that one of the people she went to, you have 15 seconds. They did one pass, and they're like, that's it, that's all I'm doing, and they still charged her, and she was so not happy with the work, and I felt like it was like, you're very good at what you do, but it also felt very humble. Like, you know, you were working with me, who's a total amateur, and you treated it like so professionally. I was like super happy with your work.
Oh, well, I'm glad.
Yeah, and it sounds so good on iTunes. I released The Pavement and The Chain as singles on iTunes and on Spotify and all that stuff using DistroKid like you recommended. You're done, by the way. You can finish.
Perfect.
Yeah, and then and it almost sounds better than the CD. I don't understand how that works. There's like a So in iTunes, there's a different way of mastering than you do for a CD. Is that correct?
I mean, yes and no. It really depends on kind of how far you're pushing the CD. It doesn't really change for the way that I work. It doesn't really change that much.
Okay.
It's mostly in just making sure you're not gonna upset iTunes.
Interesting.
When you get into that, because what's happening between the CD and the online distribution services? I mean, there's a few things, but the big one that people are thinking about generally. Is in the case of iTunes especially, is it's being converted to, in iTunes' case, an AAC, more commonly an MP3. AAC is basically just iTunes' own version of that.
Okay. Cheers. Huh. Oh, good smell though, hey?
Mm-hmm.
I hope that works for you in terms of richness of broth and... Yeah. Okay. Awesome. Yeah. Isn't that smooth?
It's very nice.
A lot of green teas are just so astringent, and it's because we brew them too hot. So we come from I don't know about you, but most folks come from a quote unquote what we call black tea should be called crimson tea culture, and so we just throw boiling water on tea and a teaspoon per cup mentality, and there's not, and so we're not preparing the tea the way that it's meant to be prepared when it comes to most green teas. Right?
Yeah.
And so when you cool down the water temperature down to 80 for your parched greens and down to 70 for your steamed greens, like your Japanese greens,
Okay.
and you do these shorter infusions with more leaves, you get such a nicer experience out of them, for certain. Yeah. Sorry, so you were explaining, so iTunes, it's just like you don't want to mess with them in terms of like they get confused over the information.
You basically just don't want to give them a file that is going to cause too many issues when it gets converted into something like that.
Okay.
So it's really just kind of, and again, that's kind of part of this like translation process is making sure that what leaves my door is going to sound as good as it possibly can on the widest number of possible playback systems.
And so you want to show the audience, are you in your studio right now?
Yeah.
You want to show them a little bit about your equipment?
Yeah, it kind of looks like that.
Oh, very cool. Maybe take us on a little tour. What are we looking at?
So all the important things are these.
Okay.
It's the room and the speakers are really kind of the stars of the show. Because for me, it's all about, like, you need to be able to hear what's going on to be able to make some decisions about it.
Mm-hmm.
Everything else is just kind of fun toys.
Okay, fair.
It's different kind of, you can think of it as like colors to paint with.
So what's special about the speakers then, Brock? What's special about the room?
I just really like them.
Okay.
They can play back full range audio. They've got an incredible amount of dynamic range, meaning even when you're listening to them at a nominal volume, not too loud, you can hear the really quiet stuff, and everything's got space to kind of breathe and move around. The speakers have way more power than you could ever ask of them, which lets them do their job a lot easier. And then the room's just super treated. There's like 38 bags of insulation inside this room.
Oh God. Okay.
It's just a monstrous amount of treatment to try and get the room under control so that I know that what I'm hearing is actually sourced from the file rather than the room kind of imparting its own thing to what's happening. And then the other stuff is all it's basically just EQ. You can kind of think of it as like the bass and treble control in your car, just the best version of that anybody in the world can possibly make. So I've got a couple EQs and a couple compressors. I might use all of them, I might use none of them. Right. It's all mostly just kind of having options to play with, so that when something comes in, you can pretty quickly reference against what you want things to sound like. I kind of think of it as like I have this idea in my mind's ear, I call it, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. Okay.
Of what I want it to sound like, and the faster that I can get it moving in that direction, the better things are probably going to work out.
What I found really interesting was just sending you files that sounded so disparate. There was such a different sound in each of them. And you were able to make them sound like they were recorded in the same room. And that process just blows my mind. That's also part of the mastering process, is to make the files all sound like they're from a similar core?
Yeah, I like to call it making a collection of songs sound like a record. I like it. I think of it as like finding the string that connects all of these pieces.
Okay.
And how you unite those into a whole.
Interesting.
And a lot of that's just down to when you put on a record, you don't want to kind of be, unless it's very intentionally made to put the listener in a different environment from song to song. You kind of want them to just be able to sit back and enjoy that listening experience without the songs calling attention to themselves unnecessarily outside of the sonic kind of content and the musicality of it.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Yeah, and which is always a challenge even in the mixing process. And Sherri Ann, you're on your second studio album. No, well, actually third studio album if you count your older work before Sister Speak. And then you have your live album you just put out. So you go through this process quite often, right? Like of trying to get the kind of the ideal sound. Did you have anything you wanted to bring up with Brock? Any questions you had for him? Or anything you wanted to point out?
Well, I was so curious how you were able to expand the sound of the guitar and acoustic of Truth and Dolphin like so big with being such a minimal production, and it sounds so amazing.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it, I kind of always come from this like subtractive mentality. I don't really want to add too much to what's going on, but my goal is always I call it kind of removing distractions of what can I get out of the way so that we can just connect to what's already here, so that what's already there has more space to breathe. And a lot of times it's just two elements fighting with each other, or one element just kind of has this weird frequency range going on in it that just dominates everything else. It kind of takes over everything else, and by either reducing that or kind of trying to make them so they're not fighting each other as much, you don't have to add anything or do anything. You just kind of everything that's there just has more space to breathe. You can kind of think of the final file as being a box, and there's only so much information you can put in that box. There's no way to kind of trick it. The box is just one size.
Right.
And so by removing some information, especially low frequency stuff, takes up a lot of room in that box. And if we can reduce some of that or get some of it out of the way that isn't necessarily working to move the music forward, we've got more room in that box for everything else.
Right. Okay. No, that's interesting. Yeah, because the drums were so inaudible before, and then they really came through, and that was interesting to me too. And like Sherri saying, it just felt so much wider. So that's interesting. A lot of that is achieved through sort of the elimination of sounds that distract or that pull away from that core goal sound. And
yeah, totally. I think like the end of the day, like the way I always describe it is like what I want to do is pull the listener closer to whatever emotional attachment that song has. I want the listener to be connected to the song, and I want everything else to get out of the way. So anything that makes you think consciously I'm listening to a mix kind of pulls away from that. And so if there's something you can do, that's overall beneficial. And I think that's the part that becomes really difficult to describe about mastering. Is it's like, who knows? I could be doing a ton of stuff, or I could be doing nothing. It all depends on the project,
right?
And
totally
really what those mixes and what that song and what that artist is asking for. It's not my music. It's you know, I'm just here to service the needs of that artist and try to figure out a way to translate it
and make it
as best as I possibly can.
You know, I know we don't have you much longer, if at all, but to bring it back to T, I always find it so interesting, and I mentioned this in the last show when we were talking to another musician, Matt Stern, just how interrelated it feels, kind of setting up the right sounds to finding sort of a flavor balance. Like when there's too much in the way, when something's like too like harsh or too like, I don't know, like there's this thinness or this too thickness, you know, like it really interrupts the experience that I think that the person, in this case, it would be, perhaps it's the farmer, you know, what the farmer as the artist is trying to achieve. And then I guess as a T-bar, we're almost like, we're trying to find that logic that makes it kind of have a really balanced expression, so that when it gets to the very end of the day, you're tasting it and you're experiencing it in a way that gives enjoyment, but also pays respect to that raw product, that raw creation from the farmer. So to me, it feels like sound and taste interrelate so inextricably that it's just a fascinating process for certain.
Yeah, that totally all makes sense to me. That is like one flavor can just dominate and take over. You don't taste anything else if there's too much of one thing. You know, that your palate's gone. That's all you're tasting today.
Exactly.
So yeah, and I think that rings true to me too, especially like the trying to honor the what the farmer intended. Is like that's my job too. Like it's not my music, it's not my song, it's somebody else's song, and all my job is just to honor that and try to get that out to people as best as I possibly can.
Yeah, and that's how honestly I feel as a tea merchant. That's how I guess as a I guess it's creators and then there's curators. You know, so it's an interesting process for certain. Well, I know you don't. You said you needed to go right at 45, and it's 48 after right now. Did you want to have some final comments? I feel like we're just getting going, but you know, it's how how life is. You want to maybe let us know a little bit about what you think about the tea, and anything you wanted to say to Sherri Ann, anything you wanted to mention to our viewers before you need to go?
Yeah, I mean, I can't think of anything other than this is super delicious. And like you said, it's not that, it doesn't have that astringency that my brain would normally associate with a green tea. It's just nice and smooth and kind of has this deliciously dry finish.
Yeah. When you slam it back, smell the cup too. It smells like cotton candy. It's pretty amazing.
I have a comparison of mastering. I have a green tea and mastering comparison.
Okay.
So when you have this green tea that's incredible and made really well, and so much care put into the product and everything, it's so amazing. And then you bring it somewhere and they put really hot water on the tea and just burn it, and it's just like, to me that's equivalent to having this really well recorded, mixed and mastered album, and then you give it to somebody and they play it on their computer for the first listen. And not only that, they download it and they compress it to the most compressed version of the MP3 you can possibly do, and then their first experience of the album is just the tinny computer sound, which like gets rid of all the quality that you put into the entire album. It's just barely there, and it still sounds okay, but does it ever sound better on a record player?
Yeah.
Awesome. There you go. That's awesome. That's a great.
And does the green tea?
That's the great note to connect the flavors to the sounds. Well, thank you for your time today, Brock. I really appreciate having you on the show.
Totally my pleasure.
And looking forward to working with you on future projects. And I hope you. I definitely need to send you our album, the Truth and Dolphin Music Project, in its finished rendition. I know you have the audio files, but to see the poetry book, it's pretty exciting.
Yeah.
So yeah. And if you want to check it out, we've also mentioned CPS mastering in the notes for the album, and we're really proud that everything about the whole process has been done in BC. So yeah, huge gratitude and really appreciate your work, Brock.
Well, thank you. I'm so happy that we got to do this, and sorry I got to run a little early, but it was a blast to do, and thank you for the tea.
No worries. That's great to have seen the studio. You take care.
Yeah, you as well.
Okay. Bye, Brock.
Yes.
Bye.
Nice to meet you.
All right.
Bye.
So that was Brock McFarlane with CPS Mastering. You can check him out at cpsmastering.com. He's the one who mastered my new album, the pre-release, which is available at the live show on where is it? November 27th, 30th? I can't remember. It's the final Friday in November.
Yes, November 27th.
Yeah, so if
27th.
If anybody wants to come by for the pre-release of the album, it's going to be available there. The singles, The Pavement and The Chain, are out on all your local streaming services, so you can totally check it out. And a huge part of making this possible has always been definitely the musical journey that is inspired by and shared with, in some cases, with my sister. So Sherri Ann, huge appreciation for the many contributions that you've made. One of the songs is actually was written with you back in the day. So that was pretty cool to see this whole like written in university, high school time on an album when I'm like 38, you know. So
yeah.
So pretty cool.
Totally.
Did you find the tea in the end, or is it still?
I'm still unable to check the final possible location.
Right.
Unfortunately, it's almost like Murphy's Law.
No, it's all good. It's all good. No problem whatsoever. You know, when you do make it, see, one of my hopes today, one of the reasons why I chose Yunwu Zhong was actually because of the unfortunate experience that I created for you when you were in the tea bar, and you had the Yunwu. You know, I'm drinking it right now, and there's no way you wouldn't love this. Like, it is so good.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah, it's like sugar, cotton candy. There's like kind of soft chestnut, really beautiful like floral elements happening. It's like a really delicate jujube. That's what it's like.
Man.
Yeah, it's really good. So I really wish that we'd been able to drink this on the air, but there's your
I know.
Yeah, it's all good.
I think it's just it's like a Murphy's Law today. It's so bizarre.
Yeah, it's been an interesting one for us out here too. It's I've been actually bottling since 6 a.m. Because I
Wow, yes.
Yeah. Well, I realized I started a kombucha fermentation, and when it finishes, it needs to get lagered in our lagering tank. But to make room for that process, the product that's in the lagering tank needs to be bottled. But I didn't take that into account when I was doing my direction of processes here at JagaSilk. And so we had this product that's ready to lager, but no lagering tank to receive it until I bottle. Bottling, which normally happens on Saturdays. So it was how do I do this
Oh, that's why.
how do I do this before JagaVision? So I started at 6 a.m. and I was up at 5 this morning. It was a pretty intense day, but
Oh man.
yeah, it's all good. But that's cool to have Brock on. Hey, what did you think of his studio?
Oh, it's awesome. I love his design. Did you see all behind him? All those little
The piano thing?
holes in the wood?
Oh, the holes in the wood. Yeah, that
The
helps
wood
with
behind him.
with the sound bouncing, right? So that it makes
Yeah,
it kind of gathers the sound and makes it more more balanced, right? Rather than, you know, when you have like if you had just straight walls, the bass notes would kind of hang out in the corners and you wouldn't hear as much as you normally would if you had a little bit of clutter. Some people fulfill that process through just like cluttering the room a little bit, right? But you don't want things to sort of like make weird sounds either. So yeah, it looked like such a good room, hey? It was
it'd be fun to go visit.
Yeah, he said
Social
more
distance visit.
than he said more than welcome. I've been meaning to go over there a number of times. I wanted to do a little interview with him for a promotion for the album, so maybe that will happen.
Oh, cool.
When things are a little bit, when things settle down a little bit with the pandemic. But yeah. Anyhow, you.
That's a good idea.
But you were asking him about the way that the music filled up from the mix to the masters. There was that question that was really striking to me. So you're hearing that too, hey? Like it's such so much wider of a sound. It's quite fascinating.
Yeah.
You've
Just by taking out certain frequencies, you can. I wonder how that applies to life and tea. Taking out. Well, if you take out certain distracting flavors by having the right temperature of water, then you end up with like the actual ideal flavor experience.
Well, you know, it's interesting because are you familiar with the concept of extraction versus a decoction?
Not so much. Hey, if I turn this on the side, does it mess it up on your end?
Yeah, we can't. It's not. I think if you scroll down on your phone, like from the top, there should be an option to turn on auto rotate, and it sometimes automatically shuts off, and it's just like an icon, like a phone with like an arrow spinning kind of thing, and that's often turns off randomly, and that actually happened to me before the show today on the video phone that communicates with the guests. I had to turn on the auto rotate again, even though nobody ever turned it off.
Oh.
Yeah, it's the weirdest thing.
Okay.
So, but we lost you there. There you are back. Yeah, it's you're sideways if you do that. We might as well just.
Yeah. Okay.
But where were we? We were talking about sound
Mastering.
mastering.
The widening of the track.
Oh, and the comparison to tea. So, in green tea, there's actually a significant amount of astringents. Like that's just how green tea is.
And if you make it incorrectly, that's what people associate with green tea. Is that bitterness?
And I was comparing between a decoction and an extraction. So decoction is when you boil like a root or you often do a decoction. If you've taken Chinese medicine before.
That's a decoction.
That's a decoction. When you boil for like 15 minutes and you're getting this really strong extraction of the different ingredients, you're gonna pull as much as you can out of them. Some people, when they drink tea, they feel that that's the only way to drink tea is you got to have this really intense extraction to get all of that medicinal value out of it. But I love the concept of multiple infusions. This way of drinking tea is actually less than 500 years old. This is not how tea was traditionally enjoyed. What we have today is masala chai with that, like the boiling of the spices, often boiled even with the tea, etc. That finds its roots in one of the first ways that human beings interacted with tea. That's recorded historically, which is this idea of making a decoction. So if you do that with green tea, it's just so horribly acidic that you often need to blend in other things just to make it palatable. But by curating more pleasant flavors, which are brought out through a lighter, a lower temperature, and reducing that tannin, you find a much more balanced flavor potential for certain. So yeah, I guess in a recording, you can probably record something a little bit too harshly, but if you're able to remove some of the more harsher elements from the recording, then you're able to find some sort of sound balance, I guess. Maybe that's the parallel. I'm not certain. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, I am sipping the Wulong. That's incredible, if you don't mind.
It's all good. You're drinking, if I remember correctly, the Yashishang by Mr. Chen.
Yes.
Yeah, we have.
Mhm.
You'll be excited to know that next week, we should be kind of wrapping up shortly here, but next week we're gonna have a tea by that young farmer that made the tea that you're drinking right now. Mr. Chen's 2020 harvest of a tea we haven't carried of his, or a cultivar we haven't carried of his in about 3 years, the Milan Sheng. And the Milan Sheng, it's the Milan is orchid, is what it translates as, and Sheng, as you know, means aroma. So we're going to be having an orchid.
Orchid?
Aroma. Yeah.
Oh.
It's a super beautiful fragrance and beautiful, beautiful tea. It tastes so magnificent when we make it into a kombucha too. So,
oh wow.
Yeah, we get to have an awesome, awesome kombucha as a result of teas from Mr. Chen. So yeah,
well,
looking forward to that.
I won't have to search for the tea anymore. I could just come grab it.
That's right. That's right.
For the next month.
We have it ready for you to pick up tomorrow when you come to the Outdoor Music Friday tomorrow. So,
awesome.
For those watching, Sister Speak, Sherri is in every Friday as part of our music series. Her label that she runs, Resonation, is a major, basically, partner in setting these sessions up, this series up. This week we have Matt Stern. Next week we have Wind and Wood. Is that what their name is? Wind and Wood?
Mm-hmm.
Wind and Wood. And then the following Friday we have Peter Dent.
Jazz pianist.
Yeah, that's going to be amazing. So
yeah.
We'll have a jazz pianist. Wind and Wood is going to be cello and Moroccan drum and violin, if I remember correctly. And then the third Friday we're going to have
David Santana,
acoustic guitar player from the photo. Anyway, do you know the genre of music?
that was a hollow body. He's on electric in that photo.
Oh, is he? Okay.
He's a phenomenal guitarist.
Very cool. Yeah, he shares the last name with another phenomenal guitarist. So that's had to be, I guess. That was. And then we have Truth and Dolphin, my band, and then my accompanist and with his own project, Steve Shimlar. And then you'll be backing me up as well. So much gratitude, Sherri. And then every Friday, Sister Speaks performing and making these shows happen. So yeah, much appreciation. Pretty excited. So yeah, it's gonna be cool. And last week was really awesome too. Takeya, if anybody missed it, go check it out. Takeya the wolf, Takeya Lone Wolf, was unfortunately killed this year. It's, many years on Discovery Island alone here near Victoria. Swam to shore after 7 or 8 years living alone, and then got caught and then brought up island, and then was trophy hunted, which is horrible. And this event was to try and raise awareness around that, and to try and bring some funds in for the Rain Coast Alliance and Pacific Wildlife Foundation to help to fight against that using litigation. So yeah, hopefully things move forward, hey, with the with those kinds of protections, and yeah, at least there's something that happens. But it was a beautiful event. The art that Takeya inspired was so gorgeous. The wolf.
It was incredible.
Yeah, it was just absolutely amazing. So yeah, they're hoping to do it every year. We'll see how it goes, the Takeya Festival. So
yeah,
awesome.
It's really powerful.
Did you have anything you wanted to say before we close out the show, Sherri?
Oh, I'm just wondering any tips, because as soon as I checked on this package, I'm about to make this tea all day. Can't wait to try it.
It's really, really good. And yeah, super buttery. I would say that I kind of lost track of things. I got really excited talking to Brock, and I let it go 2.5 minutes instead of 2 minutes, and it was still fine. And a lot of times that's not the case with a lot of these more delicate green teas. So it might be good for you to know that you're likely not going to, as long as you get that temperature down to 80 degrees, it's a fairly forgiving tea.
Okay, that's good to know.
Yeah, and then
I think it would.
Go ahead.
Sorry. Oh no, go ahead. Yeah.
Oh, it's just as a cold brew, it's also magnificent. So. Yeah. So I think you'll really like it if you if you brew it up cold, 40 grams, mason jar, cold water overnight. Yeah.
I wanted to fit in, so I grabbed my other jar of seasonal green tea.
Oh, what do we got there?
It's hojicha. It's so good.
Nice. That's a good evening tea. It's also served by our neighbors, Uchida Eatery, here in town. So yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I'm gonna have myself a second steep, is what I'm thinking. Look at those leaves, eh?
Can you tell me what's the tasting note of this? If there's wow.
They're so delicate.
I totally want to. I'm so sorry.
No, it's all good. Yeah, there's. Yeah, really well put together. This tea wasn't the most expensive tea out of the parched greens we were cupping. We cupped something like, I think this year we cupped like 20 different parched greens. And this one stood out so much because its flavor balance was so striking, I think. And we often make our greens this way, our parched greens, 80 degrees centigrade, 2 minutes. And I think part of what made this tea stand out was that it tasted so good without us even trying, But now that I made it at 2.5 minutes, I can see that maybe there's something more to it than that it wasn't just luck of the draw. This just worked with the settings that we commonly use. This was a forgiving tea at that temperature, period. Yeah. Really, really lovely.
I was just thinking about it because right now I'm observing as like someone tuning in almost, even though I'm part of the show.
For certain.
And I'm just like aching to try that tea. Like it's just like So I'm wondering like if I feel like I'm like part of the JagaVision fan club right now.
Watching and tasting notes on this.
Even if
go ahead.
If I wasn't on the show, I'd be like, hey, can I order the tea in advance?
That's what people should be doing, right? Wouldn't it be great to be able to drink it together? Yeah,
a JagaVision subscription.
That's an awesome idea, actually. It's kind of like, I think we can do that. That's actually a great idea. I think that what I would do is plan ahead enough and send these teas out. And do a loose tea, JagaVision subscription. I like that idea. I think I'm
even like once a month where everybody drinks it together that tunes in.
No. Let's do this I would send it once a month, but I would plan that far ahead.
Right? That would be so fun. I'm just thinking right now, I'm like dying inside because I want to try it so bad. And the way you're describing it sounds so good.
Well, we came up with the tasting notes as a team when we were drinking it, the Jaga team. And we came away with chocolate, cooked beets, and yuzu. And yuzu is like such a beautifully exotic citrus fruit from Japan. And then the cooked beets, like a lot of sugar that we commonly consume is derived from sugar beets. So beets are quite sweet. And
yes, just had some last night.
And then chocolate, of course, right? Like there's that very comforting, beautiful. Yeah, this is a lovely tea.
Oh wow!
I think I'm gonna do your idea there. I think that's a great one.
That would be so fun.
I experimented with some Zoom cuppings where I suggested that people join us for a Zoom cupping, and then they buy the tea and we give them the code. And a number of people bought the tea and we gave them the code, but nobody showed up for the cupping. It was really funny. So I was
That's hilarious.
All right, well, I'll just drink this alone now. But yeah, with the JagaVision, that's a great idea. I can say, hey, this is what we're going to be doing. I think I'll add it to the subscription. Yeah.
That's a great idea.
With the caveat that the label might not be done. You'll be drinking stuff before it's really ready. So
it's like the pre-release edition.
Yeah, exactly. Which is what you're going to be having next week. So actually, Eric Smythe is going to be on. Eric Smythe, we met him many years ago at the original rendition of the Tea Festival, before I was co-director of the revival of the Victoria Tea Festival. So.
Oh, was he the DJ?
No. He's he's been in tea for a number of years. He used to live in Taiwan, China. I can't quite remember. I know that he translated a tea book from Chinese into English, and he has a company called Cloudwalker Teas, and he's he did a talk one year, very memorable, the year that Takaki-san came to the tea festival, called "The Politics of Pu'er Storage," and he was going into like how different regions really feel that they are the end-all be-all in terms of where you should store your fermented teas. That conditioning. Say you grow and prepare your pu'er cakes in Yunnan province in China, but you need to store them in, say Guangdong or Hong Kong, or like just different regions will say that they are the preeminent place where you should be storing your cakes, your fermented tea cakes. So I thought it was interesting, to hear this talk. And he's actually bringing on a fellow for the Tea Festival Revival's online rendition. So this year, actually, on November 23rd from 12 p.m. until November 24th at 12 p.m., we're going to have 24 hours straight of...
Yeah.
It's going to be ridiculous, because I'm going to be hosting it with Ryan Moen, the other director of the Tea Appreciation Society, the whole time. And the lineup that's going to be on there, like we're going to have Daniel Loy of the Chinese Tea Shop. We're going to have Pedro Villalon of O5 Tea. We're going to have, actually Takaki's going to be on there again from Japan. We're actually going to have this person representing the Wadzuka Tea Festival, Teatopia. They're like in Kyoto Prefecture. And then from Guizhou, we're going to have Mimi Chu, who's going to be representing from a tea festival in China. We're going to have a PhD a professor in Australia who did his PhD on tea.
Oh my gosh.
We're going to have, we're going to have like professors and book translators, and like one of the guys is like in the top 10 companies in China. He's going to be on it, one of the owners of one of the companies there. He's like, he sells pu'er cakes, like a little pu'er cake brand new for $500 for a little cake. Isn't that crazy? It's all like wild tea.
Whoa.
Yeah, it's kind of nuts. So yeah, pretty excited about the lineup that's going to be happening. We're going to be able to go live pretty soon on the webpage, and I'll announce it on JagaVision pretty soon. But
is that going to be streaming on youtube.com/JagaSilk then?
No, JagaSilk. And so I wear two hats, right? I'm the owner of JagaSilk. I actually have three, I guess, because I'm the owner of JagaSilk. I'm also the composer for Truth and Dolphin, like we were talking in this episode. But I'm also the co-director of a nonprofit. It's an incorporated nonprofit called the International Tea Appreciation Society.
Oh.
So that's a completely different company. That being said, JagaSilk will be speaking. I'm going to be doing a talk on micron measurements when milling tea. So talking about the importance of texture in matcha. And then it's a chance to nerd out. It's good times.
That's awesome. Is it streaming on where is it going to be streaming then?
Twitch.tv. So we're coming up with. We kind of registered International Tea Appreciation Society, but I feel like that's too long. So I'm going to try and get twitch.tv/ITAS. We'll see if we can get it.
I was just thinking that.
Yeah.
ITAS. Yeah.
So we'll see if we can. But yeah, it's going to be on Twitch. We'll be
Cool.
we'll be promoting it pretty heavy over the next 3 weeks, 4 weeks. So yeah.
And there's a Facebook event, right?
Facebook event. I'm not in charge of promotion. It's interesting.
I saw it. I saw the Facebook event.
Oh, did you?
It was like really good traction going on with that Facebook
cool.
event.
When we were doing the live version of it, last year we had over 500 people in Nootka Court come to the tea festival. We had merchants from all over Vancouver Island, Vancouver, Seattle, and this year we had projected at least 1,000 people coming. And in its heyday, the original tea festival actually had 7,000 people go to it, and they had people.
Wow.
They were like working fairly closely with the Clipper and bringing people over from Seattle, and having like you can have you're working with Tawasin Ferries and building kind of like gift sets kind of thing where you could buy a package and that was kind of where this is going, but literally like 3 days before the festival was supposed to happen, we had to cancel because of COVID-19 and the lockdown. So it was it's pretty exciting to be able to have it come back so powerfully in its online form. And who knows what next year holds. I think that it may be sort of a hybrid, we will likely still have to be distancing next year, but we may be able to do something like we're doing at the music sessions where there's tables with plexiglass on them, and we'll be able to kind of have and maybe go through in pods like the Takea festival where people went through the courtyard in pods.
Yeah.
So I think it's possible to do safely, but it takes a lot of planning and a lot of resources. So
Yeah.
donations welcome.
Where?
On the, I know, right? Where coming soon? It'll be possible to donate on the Twitch channel. That's one of the nice things about Twitch is it's really easy.
Oh,
donate.
yeah.
The other thing is you'll be able to donate on the web page that's coming soon, and you'll be able to donate through the Facebook. We should be able to put the Facebook event donation button up pretty fast. Now that we have, we had to open up a bank account, right? And as a nonprofit, that was really complicated, much more complicated than I expected. But now we have one beautiful, socially conscious bank, Van City. So yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
I have to go get an account there, Van City.
Yeah, they're a co-op, and they are fairly heavily invested in the green economy. Do your own research, though. There may be some issues with. I don't want to throw it out as like a, hey, everybody, you should go there. I think everybody should do their own research. There might be some dark money going in there. I imagine there is. I think most banks are evil, but it's nice to work with ones that are less evil, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, that's what I've been trying to find.
Yeah, a less evil bank. Yeah.
A less evil bank.
Cool. All right. Well, yeah, looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to tomorrow. And next week, we'll make sure you have the Milan Shang. And
Yes, and apologies, that was completely on me. I didn't get a chance to search the one
place. Oh.
Hold on.
Oh. Oh.
Oh no, never mind.
Okay.
Okay.
Confidential talk still in process. Okay.
Yes.
It's all good. Next time. But yeah, Milan Shang next week. Eric Smythe next week. Thank you, Sister Speak, for coming on.
Thank you.
Appreciate it, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Yay!
Okay.
All right, I'm gonna go drink this tea this afternoon. I'm gonna find it. It's gotta be somewhere, otherwise I'm calling the post office.
Okay, sounds good. All right.
All right.
See you later.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks for sending it too. I know it's here.
Awesome. No,
Okay.
Enjoy. Bye.
Okay. Thank you. Bye.
Okay, so yeah, that was Sister Speak. You can find her at sisterspeakmusic.com. You can also go to @sisterspeakmusic if you want to find her on Instagram. You can find us at jagasilk.com. I think I really like that idea of making we have a matcha subscription, hey. So if you want to go on to jagasilk.com, you click in the shop, you can actually get monthly fresh milled matcha shipped right to your door, free shipping across Canada. But we kind of toyed with the idea of doing a loose tea subscription. I think tying it to JagaVision would be great. So, and it's not always loose tea, right? Sometimes we do kombucha, sometimes we do matcha. So I think doing a subscription where you can tune into the episodes and drink along with us would be stellar. Thanks for tuning in. We really appreciate your support. If you're watching the archive version of this episode, just click on the subscribe button below, and you'll get notifications when new episodes come out. And you can check out what teas we're going to be drinking by following us on Instagram and also looking at our webpage, jagasilk.com. Thank you so much. Looking forward to seeing you again next week, Thursday, 1 p.m. Barring technical glitches, we should see you close to 1 p.m. Thank you so much again.